How's it going, everybody? Welcome to this week's game picks for week 8 of the NFL season. We are already nearing the halfway point. And as we're getting closer to that, we're going to bring back something we did last year. And I'm very excited to announce that. Hopefully for the rest of the season, we're going to have some guest picks going on. So I'll talk about that in a second. But first to recap, last week, not the best week, did squeak over 500, 7-6. So we're rocking a 66-40 record on the season, which I guess isn't bad. But at least we did go 2 for 2 on upset picks last week. And the last thing before we start talking about this week is to make it clear again, I do just pick who is going to win the game. We do talk about the spreads to get an idea of who is the favorite in that matchup if I'm taking an upset pick. But for this year at least, we're just doing straight up pick 'em. In the future though, might get in the spreads. So guest pickers are back. We're going to start this season by bringing back the man who has pushed for this the most and who's had the most success. Last season, he had the best week of any guest picker that came on, and when we had everyone come back at the end, he also had the best week. Overall, he came out as the total champion because between the 2 weeks, he ended up having the best record. And so Nick this week is our guest picker. So I have his picks down here. We're going to experiment a little bit with this system. But let's get right into it for this week's matchups. Starting with the Thursday night game, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Buffalo Bills. And these are two teams that are coming off a loss that some people probably didn't expect. And now this spread is currently very large at 8.5 for the Bills. That feels like a lot, especially considering the Bills here seem to be a team who is playing to the level of their competition. They had a just disappointing loss last week to lose to the Patriots in that fashion. Now it was close, but you'd expect them to win that game. But then they go out and at other times they can look like one of the best teams in the league. And I think it all comes down to, can Josh Allen take care of the football? You don't have to take the risks every time he's out there. Yes, it pays off because sometimes he finds Diggsy 50 yards down the field. But I think he's just got to take care of it a little bit more. And the Bucs, coming off the loss to the Falcons, but I still think that they are a gritty team. Baker Mayfield has some swagger still that he's leading that offense. I think this is a tale of two teams that are going to be desperate for a win. I think, though, that the Bills have more upside to put up an offensive performance than the Bucs do. If the Bucs want to win this game, they're going to need to keep it low scoring and play some hard defense and really make Josh Allen, force him to make some difficult decisions and maybe push it down the field when he doesn't need to. This could, I think, be a very close one. I'm shocked the spread is that far in one direction. I'm going to go with the Bills in this matchup, which Nick also is going with. I just think that they have a higher chance of having a better game. But this could go either way, in my opinion. I think it will be a close one. But once again, if Tampa wants to win this, they're going to want to keep it on the low scoring range. Then the Eagles and the Commanders have the Eagles getting that big win against the Dolphins. The Commanders, the loss against the Giants. But they're always sneaky. Now, the Eagles also just made a trade for Kevin Byard, which was absolutely insane that they got him for the price they did. I was very shocked that that was a move that a general manager was able to make. But it happened. And the Eagles, I have to say, through until last week, I thought they obviously are one of the best teams in football. They have one of the best records. But I thought maybe they hadn't gotten a full test. And I knew, though, at home field that would help them a little bit. I did take them. I still think that they are not a perfect team, but they have a roster that on paper is probably the best in the league, and they are getting it done. It's almost impossible to pick against them right now at the moment. Just to stay safe when picking games, you kind of got to go with the Eagles. And the Commanders have shown bright spots at times this year. Lost last week, obviously, the Giants, as we mentioned, but I'm really intrigued what the perception is going to be by the end of the season of Sam Howell. He's shown that he can make some spectacular throws that are unbelievable. He also is the most sacked quarterback and is on pace that he would break the record for most sacks. He's maybe holding on to the ball too long. So they got to take care of some things. I think that division games can always be tough, but I have to go with the Eagles here, and Nick is doing the same. I think that's just a safe choice in this one. Jaguars Steelers, though, is where we're going to have our first disagreement. The Steelers have such a good defense, and they are winning games, even though I don't know how they managed to get enough points to get it done. They do. TJ Watt and Myles Garrett are two of the best defensive players in the NFL right now, and TJ Watt for the Steelers is dominating, and their defense is unbelievable. But the Jaguars are solid on offense. They've been getting back into their rhythm. A little bit of a sputtery start, but now they're on a win streak, which can always be broken, of course. But I just am always hesitant to pick the Steelers, even though they get it done. I mean, I picked them a few times and they do win. I'm just always hesitant with the offense, but man, their defense is so good. It is only a 2.5 point spread in the direction of the Jaguars being favored, which makes sense to me looking at that. But this could be a very, very close one. I'm expecting it will be. It's really going to determine. The game is going to be if Trevor Lawrence has a good game or a great game. Can he take over and really prohibit that Steelers defense from having a great game? Nick doesn't think so. He's going with the Steelers and an upset pick. I like it. I'm going to take the Jaguars, but this one of the tougher games to pick. And I have to say this slate overall for the whole week is one of the tougher games. Tougher weeks so far, in my opinion, to pick. A lot of close ones where I'm even thinking my heart's telling me to go maybe gut reaction, take the upset. But do you take all of them? So that could be a very interesting one. We've got a split there. So that's going to be one of the games that determines who has a better record by the end of the week. Patriots Dolphins. This is a big spread, 9.5. The Patriots have been so slow on offense, but last week they finally get it done. I just can't quite fully buy into it. Even in an off game, like the Dolphins had some positive moments, and as we talked about with the Eagles, they played the Eagles, which are one of the best teams in the league. I have to go with the Dolphins here. I think that they have shown a confidence offensively that they can put points up on the board at home now. I need to see it more than 1 week from the Patriots to really think about going in that direction. Now, of course, could that happen? Yes, at any point. But for now, to be safe, I have to go with the Dolphins here. Once again, that's a large spread. That could easily happen, though. If the Patriots look like anything besides last week, it's probably what it's going to be. It's going to be a pretty big blowout. But the Dolphins are also who Nick is going with, which I guess makes sense in this matchup. We're both doing that. I think it's just a safe choice to go with that. Now, the Vikings-Packers game is listed as a pick'em even. On some sources, it's looking like, though, it's pretty constant Vikings by maybe a point. I'm seeing as much as a 1.5, low as a 0.5 point. So for the sake of underdog picks and everything, we're going to consider the Vikings a favorite in this matchup. They, of course, are coming off of this huge win against the 49ers on a Monday Night Football game, which not a lot of people expected. They do the classic thing of the Vikings where they're playing at a level of their competition. They win the games you don't think they should, and then they, play down to whoever they're playing. They're going to lose to somebody you don't think so. I, of course, tried to get cute 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago maybe with the Chiefs, where I thought that was going to be the game that the Vikings might steal and nobody expects. It ended up being the Niners. But they get a huge win. Of course, Justin Jefferson's still injured, but Jordan Addison had a phenomenal performance on Monday night, and the defense is really what stepped it up. Brian Flores is coaching a whale of a defense right now, at least compared to what they had last year with their more conservative play calling last year. Now they're blitzing the most, which, of course, you live and die by the sword. They're going to, as we saw, that you can take advantage of that when you engage 8 as much as they do. You can certainly get other things to go when they blitz that often, but overall the Vikings defense has really been an improvement. And the Packers, of course, have seen a downward slope. Obviously they don't have Rodgers anymore, which is tough. And Jordan Love, I've maybe said it multiple times, I nearly made a video already. I was, for the sake of a title, going to say Love is actually good. Then I watched the film, and I see it again even at the end of last week, and when I watched what he's doing, Jordan Love is such a difficult player to really talk about right now because you can't say he's great and you can't say he's bad. He, as a quarterback specifically, has some of the tools that if a quarterback doesn't have, they're just going to be out and not really able to build upon. So what's hard is he has the baseline things that I think are difficult for a lot of quarterbacks to really use. He has a good processor. He goes through his reads, progressions. He can do that. He is able to go off of multiple reads and look to where he needs to go. And he has a good sense, in my opinion, of being in the pocket, knowing when to move up and take a run, knowing when to move around, and knowing when to stick in the pocket. My biggest thing with him is the accuracy, which is hard because in one way, you could say that's fixable if he just keeps chucking it at a, target all day. It's hard because he just is inaccurate right now at times, specifically the deep ball. I mean, I was watching the film, and there were about, even at the time when I was watching it through the first, he had only played like 3 games or 2 games. And there were so many plays where they have a beautifully designed play go down and deep down the field, and he just didn't hit it, and the guy's open. That's what he's at right now. And so he has the tools to be a capable quarterback, but just needs to clean up some of those deep balls. And I think that those would have been key in a matchup like this, where the Vikings are going to be pressuring consistently. He's going to need to get the ball out. And, of course, when you send guys up into the box, you might be susceptible to opening areas down the field. And so it would have been really nice for him, I think, to, maybe he can this week. He's going to need to take advantage of that. So I know that was a lot about Jordan Love, but in coming into this game, I have to go with the Vikings in this matchup. I think it will be a close one. It's all going to depend on what Jordan Love can do. He's going to need to take advantage of the Brian Flores defense that blitzes a ton. But I also think that Flores might whip up a different scheme and cook something. But I'm going to go with the Vikings. Nick is as well, so that's a draw if whatever happens. Jets-Giants, this one is maybe the toughest of the week for me, and I know that sounds crazy probably to some people. It is, and I actually think that I'm going to go in a direction that people might not expect. This is a purely feeling game. It's also, I'm recording on a Wednesday, and there is not much news on Daniel Jones. He might be ready. They have declared that when Daniel Jones is back in the lineup for the Giants, he's the starter. Then again, I got to be honest, I've liked what I've seen from Tyrod Taylor the last few weeks. They at least have something going there. This is a game where I think the Jets are a better football team. They're favored by 3. I think they are a better football team. I think they have a better defense, but there's just something telling me to go with the Giants in a feeling game, a get-back game. And I have talked about it as well. I predicted the Giants would take a step down this year. They have. But I think this is one where I've also stated on the channel before, I don't do if-then statements, even though I record early. I'm going to say this. I think that for this week specifically, when they're facing the Jets, if the Daniel Jones plays, I think they lose. If Tyrod Taylor for this week plays, I think the Giants win this football game. And so I don't know the answer of who's going to be the starting quarterback. But either way, I have a feeling I'm going to take the Giants. It's a risk. It's a +3 pick here. The Jets are just coming off of a couple wins, and I think that maybe just they'll get back down to earth and then they'll go back up. But if the Jets get a win here, you really start getting something going. Zach Wilson can be capable. That defense is so good, and so that's why I'm saying if the Giants have a mobile quarterback, which Daniel Jones is mobile, but Tyrod Taylor is one of the most mobile quarterbacks, in my opinion, in the NFL. I think if they have him, that's going to actually be an advantage. And Nick is thinking the same thing. He's also going with this Giants upset. So that is one where, I thought that could have been a separator between us this week, but it's not going to be that game. But don't worry, there's a couple other games that we do have some disagreements on that will decide it. One of which is not this game of the Rams and the Cowboys. Cowboys, barely squeaking a win against that Chargers team last time that they were up to the plate. But The Rams, I thought they could win last week. They did have the, of course, bad spot of the refs on the Pickett slide. But either way, they lose that football game. They always have been competitive at the Sean McVay coach team. I do think they'll actually stay in the playoff hunt. The Cowboys, this is a feeling. I nearly took the shot on an upset here. I just can't quite do it just because I think the Cowboys have still, this is exactly like the Bills and the Bucs that we talked about earlier, where I've seen the ceiling of the Cowboys a little bit more often, and I think that their average performance is higher than what the Rams is. This is if I had an almost upset segment of the week, like I would probably be thinking about the points here. It's 6.5 in Dallas's direction. I think the Rams could play this sneaky. I just can't take the bait on the upset. But this could go either direction. I think the Cowboys just have a higher ceiling. I think they've put up higher points on the board. Their defense is a monster at times. And I think just the Rams are a little bit more inconsistent. And they, as well, like the Bucs, will need to keep it a low-scoring game if they want to win. I trust Stafford at the end. They've got those receivers, but they're going to need to keep it low-scoring. So I have to go with the Cowboys. Nick is also going with the Cowboys. So that's a wash. This next one, though, okay, this is where I get bold. Saints-Colts. Colts are favored by 1 point. This is a squeaker. It's barely squeaking by with a favor in the Colts' direction. But this doesn't make any logical sense, really, but I'm going to go with the Saints in this one. I think the Colts have been almost sneakily playing too well. They've been really actually playing, I think, pretty well. Even if they're not winning, they're playing close, like we saw with the Browns this week, which was another controversial ending, but the Colts did not win the game. But they are looking, with Gardner Minshew, actually all right. They got Josh Downs going on the offense. I like what and Pittman's going, and they got Taylor back. They have a lot going on. I think, though, that this could be a game where they just kind of sputter. The Saints kept it close with the Jaguars last week, just not able to get it done. I maybe have taken too many of these picks before, but I just feel a get-back game for them for some reason. Can't really explain it. I mean, I even was looking earlier at the matchups, and, do I see something? I think the Colts might be a better football team, but just like one of the picks I made earlier, I just have a feeling right now that I'm going to take the Saints. I think this could be a bounce-back game for them. I think that this will come down to maybe a late turnover from the Colts that puts the Saints in position, and I think this could be a bounce-back game from them. Nick is going with the Colts, so that's another split. That will, make an impact on who wins the standings. So I'll go with the Saints, just also pure feeling. I think a get-back game is right for them. But Colts have been looking good. I have to give them that. And so for whatever reason, I am going with the Saints here, but Nick is going with the Colts. Texans, Panthers, we're both thinking the same on this one. Texans, even though they haven't been one of the best teams, I just can't really pick with the Panthers yet. I got to go with Texans, CJ Stroud. Looking solid when he's out there. And I think that they've been what I thought the Panthers would be. When we look back at my predictions, I thought the Panthers were going to be in that 7-8 win range where maybe they're sneaky, just causing some upsets and even pushing for the playoffs. But that's been the Texans. They've kind of flipped spots. The Texans have been sneaky with those rookie quarterbacks. Those two kind of flipped where I thought they'd be as a teams. So we're both going to go with the Texans here. It's one of those things where you just can't take the Panthers right now, but maybe they get on a roll. Anything's possible. It's only a 3-point spread. So I'll take the Texans. I just think that they have won football games this year. Panthers have not. But we're both thinking the same on that one. Falcons-Titans, though. This is kind of another one where so far the Falcons have been really opposite of what I'm picking. So this is kind of broken. But then again, I got to stick with my gut because that I think has been more confident. I've been very hesitant on picking the Falcons early on. And when they had that hot start, that lost me a couple games. Then I finally was like, okay, maybe they're legit. My entire gut was feeling Washington. But then I went and got too much into the stats and looked at the matchups and picked Falcons, and the Commanders won. And this last week, I go with the Bucs. Falcons win. They've been probably the biggest curse team for me this season. And so it's hard to make a decision. But this week, there's an X factor for the Tennessee Titans that, to me, is either going to win them the game or lose them the game. And that's their quarterback situation. Ryan Tannehill is not playing in this game. They're going to go with Will Levis to start the game. It said they also might work in Malik Willis. But they're going to go with the banana peel eating, mayo in the coffee drinking Will Levis. And so I liked Will Levis coming into the draft this year. I thought he was maybe a little overhyped. It was very much arm talent based on, but some of the throws he made were some of the best I saw out of the top quarterbacks. I did have him fourth out of those four, but I saw some sputters. I thought it should have been a first-round pick. And so I'm excited for him to get this opportunity. I think that if they give it to Derrick Henry on the ground as well, they'll be okay. I'm just feeling an upset pick here. The Falcons, as I said, just have been so inconsistent. I haven't seen it all from Ritter yet. Now, if they work Bijan into the offense this week, that's another scary thing for the Titans. But I'm just feeling the Titans upset this week. Can't really explain it as well. This is just, I'll take the upside of a rookie quarterback, and that's obviously something that rookies either have a great performance or loss. But we even saw Tyson Badgett in his debut last week for the Bears get a win. So I'll take the Titans in this matchup, but Nick says not so fast, and he's going with the Falcons. So this is going to be a matchup where we are both, we're going in opposite directions. That might decide the outcome of the picks this week. Browns Seahawks, though, this doesn't feel right to me. This is another one where the Browns are +3. And I'm shocked at that. They have one of the best defensive, if not the best defense in football right now, the way they are playing. Myles Garrett almost near won the game himself last week. I mean, what a performance from Myles Garrett. Their defense is unbelievable. The Seahawks have been a little bit on a roll. They've put up points is the thing. That they have actually put up points. And it all comes down to this position. Out of any player on the field, it's going to be the Browns quarterback. And it looks like it's going to be P.J. Walker maybe, I think, this week. Again, they just signed him to a one-year deal instead of just taking him off the practice squad. But even if it is Deshaun Watson, I don't think we've gotten it all clear yet on who it is. Either way, and this is the way I've felt about the Browns the entire year. If you go back in the predictions, and even when talking to people now, their defense is unbelievable. Their entire season rides on whether they have good quarterback play or great quarterback play or poor quarterback play. If they have poor quarterback play, they're not going to win the game. But all they need is what P.J. Walker has been doing the last few weeks, which is adequate. Now, what's funny is they're getting about the same play, if not better, from a guy off the practice squad than their $250 million quarterback. Now, that is a problem, and because you kind of have to start your $250 million guy to even show commitment, and otherwise that's going to be one of the worst contracts of all time, which it might already be. I was looking at the numbers yesterday because talking with some people, I mean, they can't even think about getting rid of him at any point. The dead cat number would be like the biggest I've ever seen for getting rid of a player, and so they're stuck with him. But this is one where the Browns have been so good recently. I've been picking on their side quite a bit because I truly think that they are a talented football team. They can make a run this year if they get great quarterback play. But I think they've been a little bit almost too lucky the last few weeks. Barely squeak it out last week. They are a good football team. But I'm feeling the Seahawks in this one. I think that they can put more points on the board, even though that Browns defense is phenomenal. I will be probably going back to the Browns direction in the future, but for right now, I'll also say once again, the Browns not being favored in this matchup is very weird to me, but I thought this was going to be kind of an upset pick, but Nick is also thinking the same. We're both taking the Seahawks. So we'll see what happens in that one. Chiefs, Broncos. We're both going with the Chiefs. The Broncos do pick up a win against the Packers last week, but I think the Chiefs just got to go with them. They're still one of the best teams. Even in their off days, they can still get wins. 8-point favorites in this matchup. That's a large spread, but I think, they put up a good performance last week offensively. I think that I trust them a lot more than the Broncos, even though the Broncos, of course, did pick up that win. So we're both going to go with the Chiefs on that one. I know that's a quick analysis, but anything can happen. Could even keep it close with the Broncos, but right now I think we have to go with the Chiefs, and so we're both going that direction. Bengals Niners. This is such a sneaky game. I still think the Bengals could bounce back this season, but the Niners, I would normally think would just be a clear pick here, but they've sputtered the last few weeks. They are, to start really looking at, they are a Super Bowl contending team, and as just talked about the Browns, I think they're the Browns are the Niners of the AFC. Their Super Bowl chances are all going to be determinant on whether Purdy plays good or great. His good quarterback play will get them there. He can even get them to the Super Bowl and get them into these tough games, but it's going to be whether he takes a step up and plays great as to whether they can really go and make a run at the whole thing. And, against the Vikings, at least they had a tough game. Some of the picks were, as watching, with some other outlets bring up, he is anticipating in that last pick, for example, he anticipated the throw, but it's because of that they threw the pick. Now you also look at, they talked about, with Deebo Samuel being out of the lineup, it was Juwan Jennings, and there was a little bit when you watched the route, an extra move breaking left before going right, that even that half a second was enough to make the ball inaccurate. And so he's doing it Kirk Cousins style. Those two are very comparable, where he's throwing it to spots, which is good for anticipation. Of course, though, you have to have a little awareness of where your guy is on the field. I'm going to take the Niners in a get-back game here. This could go either way. This is probably my other sneaky upset of the week. Could be, but I'm not going to take it out. Think the Niners bounce back. I think they're just too good of a team, and Nick thinks the same. Ravens, Cardinals. Cardinals, have pulled off that sneaky win against the Cowboys. Really was the biggest notable thing. But besides that, can't really pick on their side. And Lamar Jackson and the Ravens are playing. I'm going to make a case. I'm going to make a award predictions video at some point. I think you can make a case that he's the MVP right now. They are looking good offensively, and they also are looking good defensively. I think the Ravens are going to be a sneaky team that might be really dangerous come playoff time. And I have to go with them here over the Cardinals. Nick does the same. So that one, you just got to take it. The hot team right now, they are definitely on fire. Got to go with them here. Bears, Chargers. Bears pick up their first win for Tyson Bagent in their Justin Fields-less era, I guess right now. It looks like that's going to be it. So now that brings them up, to a couple on the season. This is one where the Chargers, although they have put up a lot of points, they've done the classic Charger thing, just not been able to finish out those games. And they kept it close with the Chiefs. They kept it close with the Cowboys. They've kept it close in so many games. This is the one where they got to pull away. You're playing a team that's down at the bottom of the standings, second week quarterback. This, as somebody I saw yesterday mentioned on X, I guess, not Twitter, this is a huge game for Brandon Staley's legacy. I think if you lose this game, you're really considering the future outcome. And in general, it's one of those things where, the Chargers made the playoffs, but this is just like, to me, kind of Mike Zimmer in Minnesota, where if you're going to go with a defensive head coach, you need the defense to step up. And I think the way that team is built right now, they need an offensive mind, and I don't know. They have Kellen Moore at coordinator. I don't know. We haven't seen everything yet from there. We've seen some upside, though. But the Chargers are just, they keep everything close, and this is the one where this could be so sneaky. And that's what Nick thinks. The Bears are going to get this win. This is his boldest take. By far, I think the biggest upset pick of the week. He's going in that direction, and honestly, it could happen. There is a lot that we've seen historically the Chargers aren't able to deliver, and this could be one of those games. I'm going to take the Chargers. I think they'll take care of it. But if they don't win this game, man, you're really thinking about what you're doing in Los Angeles right now. So Nick thinks that, things are going to that seat is going to get real hot for some coaches there if the Bears win. So that's what Bears is what Nick is going with. And so that could happen. It's going to be a crazy game. Raiders, Lions. The Raiders. I don't even know how to describe them this season because I finally flipped the switch. Not fully. I mean, they were playing the Bears. I think a lot of people would have taken them over the Bears, but I have been so hesitant on the Raiders this whole season. Like, even when they had a good record, I'm like, this team is not legit. They finally, last week, I think had an opportunity against a poor team to just get a win. Didn't do it. And the Lions as well, I did pick the Ravens, so I thought that it wasn't going to be as close as I thought, but they obviously didn't look good last week, but I think they've looked overall solid this season. And so I'm going to go with the Lions in this matchup. And Nick is also. The Raiders are so hot and cold, and I still think I have to now stick with my gut and just commit, okay, the Raiders are not a legit contender at all. I'm going to go with the Lions. Nick is also going with the Lions. So we have 4 disagreements that are really going to be impactful for sure when looking at the standings. I think that a lot of close upsets, but that Bears game might really come down to it at the end. Who's going to take the lead because Nick took the Bears, and so that will really be a deciding factor. So with that being said, thank you so much for watching this video. We're back in the longer side of the picks. This might be the longest one of the season. I haven't looked at, but I greatly appreciate you taking the time to watch this video, bringing in guest picks, and trying some new stuff out. So with that being said, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.